The development of true science as a process for understanding the universe has been one of the most important advancements in our species. It has directly led to the improvement of millions of lives. Through increasing technology, we have helped restore damaged environments. We have provided more food to those in need and created a standard of living that would have been absolutely unthinkable just a few generations ago. The practices of science offer us a dependable toolbox that we can draw on in order to solve complex and difficult problems, as well as to create new knowledge. The most useful of these tools include demanding evidence, planning and carrying out investigations, creating models, analyzing and interpreting data, and doing research. Becoming proficient with these skills can help a person to really orient themselves towards truth. We love to be seen as experts and to have our knowledge validated, which can lead us to act very unscientifically. In this way, we stifle the scientific mindset in others. We view our opinions as absolute because those opinions are backed by the letters PhD and are therefore endowed with authority. As such, we often look down on the opinions of anyone who is not in academia. Those who are ego-driven can sometimes forget that great minds like Newton, Galileo, Darwin, Mendel, and others did not get RB approval for their projects, nor publish them in peer-reviewed journals. They forget that Gregor Mendel was just a monk in a quiet monastery. In short, they forget that there are a lot of people who are more intelligent than themselves, who do not have any letters after their name, but who are just as capable of performing real science as they are. It is this stifling of science in others that is the problem. Whenever we discourage others from thinking scientifically because we want them to trust our expertise, we are using science to act unscientifically. Whenever we say to someone that they must believe us and that there is no need to demand our evidence, we are acting antithetical to science. The purpose of science is to teach people to think scientifically. It is to encourage children to demand evidence from their teachers. It is to train undergraduate students to demand that their professors back up their claims with proof. It is to promote the processes that lead to the advancement of mankind's understanding of the universe. Yet too often we hear phrases like 99% of scientists agree with me, or the science is settled. These phrases are incredibly inappropriate as they are completely unscientific. Science is never settled, and scientists rarely agree. Even if they do agree, this agreement is meaningless because belief does not endow something with truth. Too often, we look down on those who question science, despite the fact that questioning knowledge is at the very core of what science is supposed to be about. We must recognize that even a 12-year-old child can do real science. It was, after all, a child who discovered that hot water freezes faster than cold water. A young student is capable of thought and entitled to opinions, even when they run contrary to the opinions held by PhDs. The child must be taught not to doubt themselves or to back down from their opinions just because someone with letters behind their name disagrees with them. We must teach our children to use the tools of science rather than to simply believe the conclusions of others at face value. We must teach them to do their own research, investigations, experimentations, data analysis, and to draw their own intelligent conclusions. Otherwise, we are using science to justify acting unscientifically. It is important that these processes continue unfolding. Those who justify acting unscientifically because they view themselves as experts do incalculable damage to that progress. We must continue to value the very same scientific processes that helped Galileo prove that Jupiter has moons, and that allowed Darwin to prove that animals change over time, thus allowing future generations to topple the false ideas that are still prevalent in our thinking today, unfolding new dimensions on our perspective of the universe. To be clear, the value of listening to experts should not be minimized. Experts are individuals who have spent a lifetime in a particular field and who almost certainly understand it to a much greater depth than we do. They play an important role as guides in our own education. More often than not, they are going to be correct. If our approach is to take an oppositional attitude towards science, then we will inevitably spend a lot of time arguing against those who are usually right. Rather than being oppositional, our goal should be to demand proof before we accept an expert's arguments at face value. When legitimate experts come to us with knowledge about the world, we ought to stop and listen to them. Then we ought to ask for their reasoning and evidence, not because we assume that they are wrong, but because, even though they are probably right, as intelligent beings we must do our own due diligence and our own research. Experts are knowledgeable guides who have much to offer us. This does not excuse us from having to pass through our own scientific process in order to validate their views. It is likewise important that those who value science not use that knowledge to justify encouraging others to behave unscientifically. We must encourage and foster a scientific attitude in others, which above all means teaching others to demand evidence and to doubt a premise until it has withstood their own scientific due diligence. We must never insist that others just take our word on something because we are an expert. Let's encourage others to trust the scientific process of doubting current scientific knowledge. Let's teach others to trust their own ability to think scientifically. Let's raise children to be capable scientists, all of which mean teaching people to use scientific tools and processes for themselves, rather than simply believe the claims of experts. Let's use the knowledge of experts to guide our own individual scientific research, but not look down on those who draw different conclusions from our own. In other words, let's teach people to be scientists rather than to trust scientists explicitly.